Hello everyone and welcome to this first episode of Hot Topic, where we discuss the biggest things in gaming of the week, or the most interesting things. This week we're taking a look at Forza 5 and its need for Day 1 DLC. I'm James Jarvis, producer on CVG, and today I'm joined by former editor of Xbox World, Tim Weaver.
Hello.
And one of our video editors, Dan Wheeler.
Hello.
So, guys, to clarify then, Forza 5 needs a Day 1 DLC patch, are we calling it?
Well, that's effectively what it is. I mean, yeah. So I think we can call it a patch.
So you have to be... Basically, the game doesn't work unless you're online.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they've effectively they have come out and said that, haven't they? I mean, Dan Greenawalt has basically said that Day 1, it requires a patch, and without that patch, the game is unplayable.
So if you're planning on buying an Xbox One and aren't able somehow to connect it to the internet, Forza 5 is not for you.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, that is the message they're sending out. You know, I don't know whether the fault really lies at Turn 10 store necessarily, because this I think is possibly the fallout from Microsoft doing such a massive U-turn on DRM and always online and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, even so, it's not a great message to send out only weeks after your former CEO, as he is now, has come out and said, you don't require an internet connection to play it. You know, you can buy second-hand games, blah, blah, blah. We're giving the fans exactly what they want, except for in Forza 5, when you do need an internet connection to connect.
Because Forza was going to be one of those games that used the cloud quite a lot.
Drivatars.
That's right.
As they're called.
Yeah, they were... And Tim, I think you were quite excited about Drivatars. Dan, were you on board with Drivatars?
I was open to the idea. I don't know if I was excited about them or not.
Hey, let me clarify, James. I wasn't necessarily excited about them,
Sorry.
But I thought that they were an interesting idea. Only because, you know, I played a lot of Forza 4 and I thought it was, as probably is quite well documented, thought it was absolutely amazing. But I never played... But that is a game really... The Forza is a game personally for me that I find a fundamentally single-player experience. I wouldn't really think to take that online necessarily. But I like the idea of Drivatars giving you an opportunity to play against your friends without actually having to play against them. So I like the concept of them.
Right.
I wouldn't say I was excited by them.
Okay.
I just was intrigued by them.
So, if this is going to happen quite a lot, do you think this might start being sort of the future of where we're going with games? You'll get a disc that will effectively be like a launch loader, and then it will just pull in a load of other... I mean, it gives them a lot of opportunity to make content right up to the day of release, doesn't it?
Dan?
I don't think they
Dan
can...
looks like he's got an opinion on this.
Yeah, I sort of do. I mean, like, this is obviously fallout from the Xbox One DRM reversal thing.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Microsoft had this plan of every box is going to be connected, so they could obviously provide this service, if you want to call it that, of games can be developed right up until the date that they're shipped, and then you get the content and the complete game experience is there. You won't be able to provide this on PS4 because they've said it doesn't have to be connected to the internet, so that rules that out. And now they've gone back on the Xbox with this one. I think games that aren't in development yet or aren't very far through development, they won't offer it, because they've said now that you don't have to be connected to the internet, so that you have to have their experience on disc. And I think, you know, personally, this doesn't affect me because I've got internet connection.
No, well, it doesn't affect anyone listening to this either, really.
No, but I think the problem with it is like casual gamers who maybe got an Xbox One for Christmas, and they walk into a shop that they do once every 3 months and go, oh, a driving game, I'll pick that up. But I haven't got the internet at home. But spending 40 quid on a disc, you would just expect that that's going to work.
Yeah, I think that is the difficulty they face here, is that, you know, a parent, say, buying a game for their kid and getting that copy of Forza 5 home, they just expect to be able to give it to their kid and it to work.
Yeah.
You know, you don't expect to have to necessarily connect to the internet. Now, I think that in this country, you know, the vast majority of us will be able to run Forza 5 without too many worries, because most of us are connected to the internet. But I I think it's a wider discussion about Xbox and Microsoft's policies, about how they presented the Xbox One in the first place. We've been over that and we've done it, and everyone's got a different opinion on it. But on Forza 5, I think that it is an issue, and I think that for what is effectively like the system's one of the system's biggest games, it is probably you're either in a Gran Turismo camp or a Forza camp, but for me, Forza is the best driving game on the market. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem because it's not. When you buy that game, when you pay money for it for a physical copy in a shop, you don't expect to have to get home and spend however long it's going to take to download this patch.
Well, you've got to think as well. I think they've said that you get new cars and tracks, so it's basically downloading quite a lot of the game, especially in the UK, in this country. People might have quite fast internet connections, but some of those have got a capped usage thing, and if this download is a gig, which is probably not unreasonable to think it's going to be about a gig, that's like half your month's data gone already.
Yeah, it's a problem. It is a big problem, and I think that it's going to be a nasty, like Dan says, it's going to be a nasty surprise for some people who get this game home and then they find they've got to use up half their monthly internet allowance even getting the game to work. I don't know how Microsoft have got a job on their hand communicating this to the public and to communicating it and putting a positive spin on it, because I don't really see any positive spin on it for the majority of people. For me, I've got unlimited allowance on my internet, it's not a problem, but for a lot of people it will be a massive problem.
So that's a lot of the bad. I guess the good thing out of it, as Dan says, is they will get to develop Forza 5 right up until November, because they won't have to send it off for certification or anything like that. So at least the game that you might eventually get will end up looking really good as long as you can download all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Forza 4 was an incredible game, an absolutely incredible game, and Forza 5, I have no doubt, is going to be equally, if not significantly better. Certainly, what we saw at E3 was seriously impressive, and we only saw one track. Those guys at Turn 10, they aren't mugs. They're really good developers with a really good track record of delivering high quality racing games. So I expect Forza 5 to be exceptional. I don't think that's the issue here. The issue is what you're expected to download day one.
Yeah, and I think they can sort of get away with it if they're brutally honest about it and put on the box on the shelves requires internet connection. The same way they're going to have to do that with the Xbox One. Even though it hasn't got to connect every 24 hours now, you still need to have a day one patch to use the machine.
Yeah.
So they just have to be honest about it. They have to say, look, buy this. You don't have to be online all the time, but you have to have a one-off connection to update the Xbox and to get the patch for Forza.
One of the issues here is that for people like Turn 10 who have been who are owned by Microsoft, so they're affiliated to Microsoft, so they are kind of at the whim of Microsoft, of what Microsoft do. One of the issues for developers who have got games, as Dan alluded to earlier, quite a long way into development, is that they have been sold one message by Microsoft and now they are having to sort of sell another message to the public now. And Microsoft completely messed up their PR message in delivering Xbox One in the first place. Their PR message was awful. It was awful. So, the big question really is whether they can get this PR message right this time round, and what that PR message is, and how they get the mums and dads out there who are getting it for their kids, or the people out there who aren't perhaps even aware that the Xbox One once required you to be constantly connected to the internet or to check in once every 24 hours. That is the big question, and people like Turn 10, they can deliver the best game in the world, but it's really down to Microsoft now to manage that PR message.
Imagine being at Turn 10 and getting that email. Just like,
I know.
You've done what? Oh, well, we've sort of changed our minds, guys. So can you make the game?
Forza 5 has been in development basically since Forza 4 was finished, and that was 2 years ago. So it's been in development a load of time. Probably in a conceptual stage way before that even. And it's you've spent 2 years on it, and then Microsoft drop you a little email saying, "Oh, by the way, that driver task stuff, we just want to let you know that there's a slight change of plan." And now Turn 10 have to deliver that turd sandwich effectively. It's tricky.
All right, well, let's wrap up with a quote from Dan Greenwald, the studio head, who has said, "We're not making a launch game, we're making Forza 5 at launch," which is quite an amazing statement, really.
Yeah, I don't know, Dan, have you got an opinion on this?
Not really, it's just nonsense, isn't it? I think another concern for me is this the first of many for the Xbox launch titles? I mean, because they've obviously all been built around this idea of cloud, things like Rise and Dead Rising. Is just the first guy to come out and say, honestly, this is what's going to happen? Are we going to find out that when you play Dead Rising, there's no zombies in it unless you download them?
Downloadable zombies.
I don't reckon the vast majority of games will be as bad as this.
No.
I think the vast majority of games will require you probably to do some sort of update as soon as you put them on. I don't think it'll be a massive one. Some might require it, not require it at all. But I do think, as you said earlier, Dan, I think it's a problem for the games that have been in development a similar amount of time to Forza 5, because they've been sold a certain dream, as I said earlier, and that dream is now an entirely different dream, requiring an entirely different set of skills and, I guess, opportunities. So I think that is the problem, and I think you probably will find that some of those games that were demoed at E3 do require a similar level of internet connection when you put them on. Whether that's a sort of a taste of things to come later on down the line. I hope not. I hope that not every single time you want to play a game, you go out and buy it, you put it in the disc drive, and you have to sit there for an hour while watching a loading bar. I mean, that just sucks all enjoyment out of gaming.
But then on Xbox, you've always got the TV button. You just go watch the TV.
We can watch some live quiz shows while Skyping our family, can't we? So
everyone wins.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's, unless you've got anything else to add, that is our.
I think I've had my say on that.
Good. That's our views on Forza 5. Come back every week at 4 o'clock on a Friday for more Hot Topic. Put your suggestions for things you want us to cover in the comments below, and we'll see you again next week.